Hey, big dreamers, this is Eva Karpman here. I just wanted to pop in and let you know I'm going on a fun vacation and heading to camp. I'll be collecting awesome new stories, finding cool inspiration, and learning new things to share with you. While I'm off on my adventure, I can't report any podcasts, so enjoy a rebroadcast from Eva's and yours favorite episodes. I can't wait to come back and tell you all about my amazing experiences. Thank you so much for understanding. Stay curious and keep dreaming big. Hi, it's Eva Karpman, and you're listening to the Dream Big Podcast Show, the place to go to learn, laugh, and grow. Today we welcome Humble the Poet, an amazing artist who has many passions, from music to fashion to film, and he has so much wisdom to share from his journey. You ready? It's time to dream big.
Welcome to the Dream Big Podcast Show. We're inspiring you to shoot for the moon, take aim and go. We bring to you amazing guests who truly love what they do. Every day they're living their dreams, and so can you. Dream big, take action to reach your goals. Are you pumped yet? It's showtime, let's rock and roll.
Now let's turn our attention to this week's amazing guest, Humble the Poet. Humble is so fun and cool. He has had an amazing journey from being an elementary school teacher to creating a huge community of super fans online who love his artistry, which comes in many forms: music, videos, fashion, and recently his book, Unlearn, 101 Simple Truths for a Better Life, which is a bestseller. Humble shares tons of great tips and strategies in this interview, and we'll include everything we discussed at our show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/146. Without further ado, here's my interview with Humble the Poet. Let's roll the tape. Hi, Humble.
Hey,
Thank you for joining us on the Dream Big Podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You started your career as an elementary school teacher, which I know is super rewarding for you, but ultimately decided to pursue being an artist full-time and became known as Humble the Poet. What gave you the courage to make this big move?
When I was a teacher, I became a teacher because I really like learning. And I really liked, I wanted to work a job where every day is going to be different. And, you're in school right now, so every day in the classroom is every single day something different happens. So I really liked that idea. And after work, I needed to find something to do and scratch my creative itch. And so I started doing spoken word poetry and sharing my work online, and slowly people in the city started recognizing me, and then even my students started recognizing me. So it just slowly happened. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over a couple of years, actually, and the rest was history.
Wow, and I'm sure you were a fantastic teacher, but I know that your unique gift is your art, and if you hadn't made that transition, then you could have never shared this art with the whole entire world, which is amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? I learned a lot from being a teacher, because being a teacher taught me how to communicate using, as simple language as possible, and also the idea that we got to take big ideas and cut them up into small pieces to make it easier for people to understand. So I learned all of that from being a teacher. I taught the third grade. So, when you work with people who are 8, and you want to teach them how to do long division, or you want to teach them how to do, double digit multiplication, you got to break it down into easier pieces. So what I started doing with my writing and my music was the same thing. I would take something that a lot of people were going through in their life, a lot of people were feeling, and I would break it down into small pieces to make it easier for everyone to understand. Because no matter how old anybody is, we all still have a little kid inside of us. And when we can speak to that kid, we'll all start to feel better.
Wow, that's amazing. And in your interview with Lewis Howes, you said how important it is to focus on the rainbow, not the pot of gold. And I really love analogies like that. So can you share what you meant with our young big dreamers?
Yeah, so a lot of big dreamers, they're thinking about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They're thinking about the finish line. They're thinking about the day they win. They're thinking about the championship game and holding that trophy over their head. And what I realize is, it's cool to win and it's cool to get cool stuff, but that only lasts for a couple of hours or a couple of days. And then you're left thinking, well, what's next? What do I do next? And then you spend all your time chasing that next pot of gold. So what I tell people is, hey, if you're on that rainbow, instead of focusing on the pot of gold, have fun on the rainbow. Let the rainbow be the pot of gold. And then every single day you'll enjoy the rewards instead of promising yourself that you can only feel good when you hit the finish line. Because none of us will ever hit that finish line.
That's beautiful. And it's so true, like, especially for big dreams, which you said before do not happen overnight. You need to fall in love with the actual journey itself, because many big dreams and goals can take years to accomplish. And it's nice to just, instead of focusing all on that end result, getting to know the journey.
Exactly. And you know what it is too, is like when we watch on TV, we only see the people hitting the big goal. We only see people winning the medal, the gold medal or the trophy or the prize. We don't see all the work they put in beforehand. We don't see all the years of work that they had to put in to get there. And if they weren't in love with the process, if they weren't in love with the journey, they would have never made it there. And the thing is, there's always going to be a next day after any accomplishment or any failure. So if we have fun on the journey, then we'll never have to worry about the destination, and we can have as much fun for the rest of our life.
So true. And speaking of goals, I know you hit many milestones in your life, like getting out of debt, releasing a hit song, writing a best-selling book, being in an Apple commercial. Those were all accomplishments, but I know you keep on pushing and redefining yourself. But what do you think it's so important to grow?
I think the thing that actually makes us happy is when we are getting better every single day. And it doesn't have to be by big steps. We can be taking baby steps every single day. And as long as we're better than we are yesterday, I think we're happy. And it's like when you play a video game, as long as you keep making it to the next level, you're happy. And some of your favorite video games, you wish they never ended. So I kind of look at life that way. So even when I got to do a lot of cool things like being in an Apple commercial or having a best-selling book or having a hit song, I realized that, hey, when I listen to those songs or reread my book or watch that commercial, the memories I have is how much fun I had doing it. And so all I try to do now is I try to chase the fun, and I try to see when people, come up to me and present me with different opportunities. I try to ask myself, is that going to be fun? Will I learn something from it? So for me, as long as I'm learning, I'm really happy. And it is redefining myself, but I think all of us have to get to know ourselves. And we're all like onions. You peel away one layer, you're learning a little bit about yourself, and then you go a little bit deeper and you peel away another layer and another layer. And then you realize that you can keep doing this for the rest of your life. And the more we get to know ourselves, the more we start to understand everybody else around us as well and how we relate to them. So for me, it's just a fun journey of learning stuff and sharing what I learned with everybody else so they can learn about themselves as well.
So true. You should definitely celebrate like big wins when you got out of debt and when you finished writing your book. But at the end of the day, those accomplishments just show what's possible if you keep on growing and learning, and especially having fun.
Yeah, and we should celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
Something simple as making our bed, catching up on our emails, doing 25 push-ups today. The little small things, they add up as well. And it's the small things that make the big things. I didn't wake up one morning and just get an Apple commercial. I had to do, spoken word poetry for 10 years before anybody heard of me. So it was me having fun, sitting in my room by myself, writing that poetry, and not caring if anybody was going to hear it, not caring if I was going to get any likes on social media. And it adds up, and then really fun stuff happens. And I look at all that stuff as the bonuses, and I celebrate that stuff. But I think we should also celebrate the small stuff. And, what we do every single day is what ends up becoming our life.
Amazing. And I know you're involved in a lot of different projects. You're a poet, you write books, perform music, you have a clothing line, but some people just advise that it's best to focus on one thing. I really like that you have so many passions, but how do you manage all of them? And do you have a team to help you?
So I do have a team to help me. I have two artists that I work with, and they help me from everything from doing the schedules, helping with my emails, helping design things, helping to edit videos. So it's kind of like having another brain, a left and a right brain, a creative brain, and the responsible brain side of the brain, and they definitely help a lot. And it's hard because I do want to do a lot of things, and sometimes when the book, when I just finished writing my new book, and as I was writing it, when things got tough, my brain started telling me, hey, let's go focus on some music today. Let's go make some music today. Or, hey, let's start designing another t-shirt. And I have to remind myself that, hey, there's a time and place for all of that. Let's get the book done first. So I find myself having to be my own parent sometimes. And, when you work for yourself, you got to be your own boss, but you still got to be a nice boss to yourself. So it's hard. And some days are better than others. But I think as long as I'm having fun and as long as I'm learning and as long as I'm helping other people learn, it's okay. And sometimes I don't get much done and I don't beat myself up over it. Some days it's okay to take a rest.
I think it's great that you have so many passions, and pretty much all of our guests have told us that having a team is very important, and because there are so many hours in a day, and if you can get people to be part of your team, then you can reach your goals and dreams so much faster, and as well, they help you so much more.
Completely. And I think it also helps spread, the movement as well. Because even if we have our own goals, as we get older, our goals change. Maybe whatever your goals were 2 years ago, they're not the same goals anymore. So sometimes what I'm realizing now is in the beginning, when I was first an artist, I just needed to, my goals were very different than what they are now. So the good thing about having a team is they can help you see things differently. And as well as you can help them with their goals. So, one person on my team, they make their own t-shirts as well. So as they learn how to help me sell t-shirts, they're learning themselves how to sell their own. So I think it's kind of working that way. So it's not only getting them to help you with your goals, but it's also you helping them with their goals. And then now as a team, the team can have bigger goals than just one person's.
So true. I wanted to ask you a question about how you have dealt with bullies and haters in your life. Because I know you've dealt with racism, you have a thick beard and wear a turban, so there were some people that called you a terrorist since the evil man who planned September 11th, Osama bin Laden, also had a beard and wore a turban. And also as an artist and someone who puts their content out, there are people who will say mean things and be critical. How do you handle those comments?
I think the big lesson is, just because one person does something doesn't mean everybody who looks like them is just as bad. There's people from every culture and ethnicity who have done uninspiring things, and we can't blame everyone that looks like them for the same stuff. And I understand when people are afraid, they might say mean things, or they might lash out. And I don't get upset over that because I understand that they're afraid. And it's my job to kind of make them feel better. When I was a teacher, I used to help my students a lot with bullying. And what you learn with bullying is that, you have the bully and you have the person that they're bullying, but you also have a lot of people who are just watching. And we call them the bystanders. And they actually have the most power in the situation. So I always encourage people that, hey, being a bully isn't that it's not that a person is born a bully. Being a bully is a choice. And what can happen is if you see somebody choosing to be a bully on someone else, get involved and let them know that that's not cool. And as a bystander, you'll have more power. And then, you'll inspire other people to become more positive bystanders if you ever find yourself in that situation. So for me, I grew up dealing with a lot of challenges and dealing with bullies, but it made me stronger. It made me learn who I was, and it made me learn to stand up for myself. So now when I read some mean comments on the internet, it doesn't really affect me. It's okay. I understand that those people, they're not telling me my story. They're telling me their story. So I mostly ignore what people have to say on the internet because they don't know me. If somebody doesn't know me, then what they have to say about me isn't really important. And I just encourage people to stand up for themselves. And I really encourage people to stand up for other people who may not have found their voice yet.
Amazing, Humble. We had a whole episode called Haters Gonna Hate. You just can't control what other people say or do. You can control how you react, though. And reacting by getting upset, or worse, abandoning your big dreams, is about the worst thing you could do because you're letting the bully win.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to realize that once in a while, all of us have made a poor choice and all of us have been haters once or twice in our lives. And I think it's important to recognize that because then it helps us connect with these people who are saying mean things to us. Because sometimes they don't even hate us. They're just sharing their pain and they feel a certain way. So sometimes I understand that people who are leaving me hate comments, sometimes, they just wish they were in my position. They wish they had my platform and they don't know how to deal with that. So they lash out saying mean things. And so it's not going to just, for me, simply be haters are going to hate. It's going to be understanding why they hate and trying to show them that some love and understanding to be like, hey, I understand you're in pain, but I'm here and I'm listening. And you're definitely right. When we live for other people's opinions, then we're just going to put ourselves in a cage. And instead of putting ourselves in a cage, let's be free of that. It doesn't take a lot of effort not to worry what people think about. And it might even be simply a turning off your comments. And if you can't handle the mean stuff, but I think I've been in this game long enough to have thick skin, so it doesn't bother me as much. But I always try to encourage people to say, hey, look, even when people say mean things about you, they're not talking about you. They're talking about themselves. And somebody taught them how to say mean things, and they're not bad people. And maybe they've been victims of bullies themselves. I have never met a bully who hadn't been bullied themselves, and they just need to see a different way to handle their problems.
I know that you wrote a really amazing, cool book called Unlearn 101 Simple Truths for a Better Life. It's an amazing book with short chapters, and one of the chapters is called Unhappiness is Simple, and it starts with this amazing sentence. Unhappiness is simply when the picture in your head does not match the picture in front of you. I really love that. Can you share what that means?
Yeah, whenever we're unhappy, what it is we want life to be a certain way. And then when we look at life and it doesn't match the way we want it in our head, we feel unhappy. And the problem is most people they feel helpless because they don't have control over what's happening in their life. And I just want to remind people that you might not be able to control what's happening in front of you, but you always have control over what's happening inside of you. So I just remind people that, hey, if you wanted things to be a certain way, let's say you wanted it to be a sunny day, but it's raining and now you're unhappy because in your head, you want it to be sunny, but outside it's raining. You can't control the weather, but you can control how you feel on the inside. And, on the inside, you can be like, hey, there's goodness to rain as well. This is the reason these palm trees are going to stay nice and green. This is the reason, we're going to have beautiful flowers. And water is what gives us life. So we always have a choice to change our attitude. We may not be able to change how the world is acting, but we always have a choice to change our attitude. And we always have a choice of how much effort we're going to give our lives.
I agree 100%. When you think life is going to go according to some perfect script, then you're pretty much guaranteeing that you'll be unhappy because nothing in life goes according to plan. If you learn to go with the flow, let go of expectations, then you're going to live a much, much happier life.
Not only is it a happier life, it'll be a much more interesting life. Could you imagine reading the story about somebody's life where everything went to plan? That would be such a boring story. Or watching a movie where everything went to plan. The only reason people's stories are interesting is because they have challenges. Think about any favorite movie you've ever seen. It's always about your favorite character going through challenges and overcoming those challenges and becoming a better person. It's the same thing with our lives. Whenever we have challenges, those are actually gifts to make us better people. Because if everything went to plan, life would be very boring.
Yeah, just like in Harry Potter, where the bad guy is always going after Harry in some way that he never expected, and it's full of unexpected twists and turns.
Exactly. If there were no twists and turns, that movie would have been done in one film,
yeah.
Right?
Like our life could be so boring without those amazing moments in life.
Yeah. Life is a roller coaster, but, it's a little bit scary, but it's also a lot of fun.
Beautifully said. Before we close out this interview, I have a couple last questions. If you go back in time and talk to your 10-year-old self, what would be your best advice?
That's a great question. If I could go back and talk to my 10-year-old self, I think I would remind him not to let fear get in the way. It's okay to be scared, but still move forward. You don't wait until you're brave to move forward. Move forward, because that's how you'll become brave. I'd remind him of that, and I'll remind him that the only thing he should be chasing is the fun. If it's not fun, don't do it, because money's not going to make you happy. Getting famous is not going to make you happy. Getting a lot of followers on social media is not going to make you happy. Having fun will make you happy. So focus on the fun.
What are the things that you do for fun when you're not creating your amazing clothing line?
I'm always working in some way or another. But in terms of just fun that I like to have is I like to travel. I like to go places I've never been before. And that really, opens up my brain to learn new things. I like meeting new people I've never met before. I'm a big basketball fan. So I love, going to basketball games and different events. I love watching movies. I love watching television shows. I'm also a filmmaker, so I direct my own music videos. So I love creating that way too. And I try my best to make my work as fun as possible. When my work is as fun as possible, then you don't need a day off. You just keep working and you have fun while you do it.
Who is your number one inspiration in all the things that you do?
Oh, I don't know if I have a number one inspiration because I do so many different things. So, my musical inspirations are going to be different than my film inspirations and my fashion inspirations. I think, life in general becomes my inspiration. There's a great comedian named George Carlin, and he probably taught me the importance of being honest and the importance of looking inside yourself to find stuff to share. And George Carlin is a comedian who was doing comedy for well over 40, 50 years. And all his stuff's on YouTube, and you can watch him from the 1950s all the way up until 2007 when he passed away. And he was still doing comedy up until 2 months before he passed away. So you knew he was doing it just for the fun of it. He was very honest with his comedy. Sometimes you didn't even think he was telling jokes. He was just teaching you about life. And I really like that. I really like learning and being entertained. So he really taught me about that. I also love Jim Carrey a lot. I feel like he has a lot of fun. He gets really deep and he teaches you a lot of important lessons, but he does it through being silly and having fun. And I think that's really important.
When you have doubted yourself in the past, what made you overcome those fears and continue to pursue your dream?
I don't even know if I overcame a fear. Sometimes I can face a fear and I can still make things happen despite the fear. And I feel like I overcame it. And then the next day I have to do the same thing again and I feel the fear again. So I think what I remind myself is when you face a fear, you get stronger. You don't get stronger, then face the fear. You have to feel a little bit scared before you face it. And I always remind myself about the roller coaster. Nobody's going to be lined up for the roller coaster if it's not scary. Then it's just going to be a boring little roller coaster. You want to go on a roller coaster because it gives you those butterflies in your stomach. So when I think about the stuff I have to do, I always want to have a little bit of butterflies in my stomach because that's what keeps it exciting. Because if it wasn't scaring me a little bit, then I'd get bored. And if we're bored, then what's the point?
You've already made many of your dreams a reality, but if you look at yourself today, what's your big dream for the future?
My big dream is to help all those people around me make their dreams a reality. My parents came from India in the 1970s and, they didn't have a lot of choices when they came to this country for them to make money and for them to start a family. And they really helped me be in a position where I had more choices. I want to create a situation where, my nieces and my nephews, I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews. I want to make sure that they can do whatever they want as long as they work really hard at it and all the options are available for them. And then for also people in my community, I want to show them that, hey, it is possible to have big dreams and it is possible to make them realistic and it is possible to realize them, but it's just going to take a lot of hard work. And I want anybody that comes across me to feel better about life. And I want them to also know that whatever their dreams are, because everybody has different dreams, I want them to know that if they work very, very hard and, put in the time and have the patience, that they can make it happen. And also to remind them that it's okay to change your dream halfway through. You might want something one day and then wake up in the morning and be like, hey, that's not for me anymore. I want to try something new. So for some people, they may want to be rappers. Some people may want to be actors and actresses. Some people may want to be professional athletes. Other people want to be doctors and engineers and veterinary assistants. Other people may want to paint. And I think I want everyone to do what excites them. And not just what they're passionate about, but what they're obsessed about, what they can't stop thinking about. And when you find the reward in doing the work and you don't care about anything else, then I think you're living the best life you could possibly live.
Thank you so much for this interview, Humble. Before we end, I have one last question. Where can our audience find out more about you?
Your audience can find me on my website, humblethepoet.com, and they have all my work there, all my music, all my fashion, my books, and my films, and everything else I've done is right there. As well, everywhere on social media, at Humble the Poet. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook. I'm everywhere. Everywhere that people use social media, you'll find me and you'll find some of my work.
Thank you so much. And big dreamers, remember to always chase your dreams and make sure you find Humble on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and just like he said, any social media page. Thank you so much, Humble.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
A huge thank you to Humble the Poet for such an insightful interview. So many golden nuggets in there. Speaking of gold, I especially love the analogy of focusing on the rainbow and not that pot of gold. As always, all the links to everything we discuss are in our show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/146. Did you enjoy this special episode? If so, please tell your friends and family about the Dream Big podcast. If everyone listening can just tell one person about this episode, that would lead to a chain reaction that would get the Dream Big podcast in front of so many new people, which would be amazing. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified whenever we release a new episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Eva Karpman reminding you that you have unlimited potential. Your dreams are not optional, you need to make them essential. So take massive action to turn those big dreams into reality. Live with passion, the way life was meant to be. I'll see you next episode. Bye!